Hey everyone, and welcome! If you're watching this, you're probably getting ready to take a huge step in your pipe fitting career, and today we are going to crack the code on the Pipefitter Journeyman Exam, breaking down exactly what you need to know to pass it.
So let's just start with the big question, right? Are you ready to level up? Because that's what this is all about. This exam, it's the gateway. It's the official certification that proves you've got the skills, you've got the knowledge, and you're ready to work on your own and tackle those bigger, more complex jobs.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll break down the exam itself, the challenge you're up against. Then, we'll dive into the absolute must-knows, materials, safety, and of course, reading blueprints. And finally, we'll wrap it up by talking about your path to actually passing this thing. It's a clear roadmap, so let's get into it.
All right, first things first, the Journeyman Exam Challenge. Look, before you can pass this thing, you've got to know exactly what it is you're facing.
So, here's the deal. This is way more than just another test. You've got to think of it as the industry's benchmark. When you pass it, you're basically telling the world you're no longer just an apprentice. You can read the plans, you know which materials to choose, and you can get the job done right and, most importantly, safely, all without someone looking over your shoulder. It's your ticket to better pay, more respect, and a lot more responsibility. Now, this is a really important distinction you need to understand, the difference between the union and non-union paths. As you can see, the union exam is typically the final step of a really structured apprenticeship. It's going to focus heavily on union procedures and codes, and it opens the door to union jobs. On the other hand, the non-union path can be more flexible, and it often leads towards state licensing and maybe even becoming a contractor. One isn't better than the other, they're just different roads to the same professional destination.
Okay, moving on. Let's get into the real nuts and bolts, mastering your materials. See, as a journeyman, you're not just following orders. You are expected to know why a certain material is the right choice for the job. This knowledge, it's the foundation of every single system you will ever build.
And we've got to start with the undisputed workhorse of industrial pipe fitting, carbon steel. I mean, anytime you're dealing with high-pressure, high-temperature systems like steam or gas, this is going to be your go-to material. It's all about strength and durability.
But here's the thing. It's always a trade-off, isn't it? This is exactly the kind of critical thinking the exam is going to test you on. Yeah, carbon steel is strong, it's affordable, and it's great to weld. But you have to account for its weight. And you absolutely have to deal with its biggest enemy, rust. As a journeyman, you need to know that if you don't use a protective coating, that pipe could fail and shut down an entire plant.
So what happens when corrosion isn't just a concern? It's the #1 threat? Well, that's when stainless steel steps into the ring. Think about places like food processing plants, chemical facilities, pharmaceutical labs, basically anywhere that contamination is an absolute deal breaker.
The huge advantage here, obviously, is that incredible resistance to corrosion. But that benefit comes with a price tag. It's more expensive, and it's a lot trickier to fabricate and weld. You got to have your skills dialed in, and choosing it is a critical call. In a food plant, for example, a little spot of rust isn't just an eyesore, it's a potential contamination disaster.
All right, let's shift gears a bit and talk about a material you will see literally everywhere, especially in commercial buildings and homes, copper. It's been the king of domestic water systems and HVAC for a long time, and for some very good reasons.
Copper is just fantastic. It lasts forever, it doesn't corrode from water, and joining it with solder is a core skill. But like everything, it has a weakness. It's more expensive than PEX, for sure, and as anyone who's ever dealt with a burst pipe during a cold snap knows, it does not like to freeze. That one vulnerability can cause thousands of dollars in water damage.
So this table right here, this is a fantastic little cheat sheet. It connects the dots. A true journeyman looks at a job and that mental checklist just starts running. Okay, I see high-pressure steam, I'm thinking steel. Domestic hot water, gotta be copper or PEX. This is that real-world applied knowledge that you have to have down cold. Okay, we've covered what you build with. Now let's talk about the single most important topic, how you do it safely. I'm telling you, safety is not just a chapter in a textbook you memorize, it is the absolute foundation of your career. It's the first thing you think about when you get to a job and the last thing you think about when you leave.
And there is no better example of this than OSHA's rules for entering a confined space. This isn't a list of helpful hints. This is a literal life-saving procedure. And you've got to notice the most important part. The emergency rescue plan is created before anyone even thinks about going in. You test the air,
You get the ventilation running. You have a plan. Every single one of these steps is non-negotiable, and you can bet the exam will test you on it.
This really says it all. All the technical skill in the world means absolutely nothing if you can't do the job safely for yourself and for every single person on that job site. That mindset is what separates the pros from the apprentices.
All right, let's get to our final core section. Reading the blueprint for success. This is where it all comes together. This is the skill that lets you take an engineer's design, just lines on a page, and turn it into a real, functioning system. It is absolutely critical.
Let's just be totally clear about this. If you can't read a blueprint, you can't do the job. It's that simple. The symbols, the measurements, the notes, it's the language of our trade. And you can't just be familiar with it, you have to be fluent. It's a non-negotiable core competency of a journeyman.
Now, take a look at these. It's amazing how much information is packed into one tiny little symbol. You see that first one for a fillet weld? That tells you exactly how to join pipes at an angle, like for a T-joint. The next one, for a groove weld, is for your butt joints, when you're connecting pipes end to end. And that last symbol, that circle tells the welder, hey, this needs a continuous weld all the way around the joint. You got to know what these mean instantly, no hesitation.
And this brings us to the next level of blueprint reading, isometric drawings. The best way to think about these is like a 3D GPS for the entire piping system. They don't just show you the path of the pipe, they show you the elevations, how it goes up, down, over, and around all the other equipment. This is what lets you truly visualize the finished product and fabricate your spools with precision, preventing costly errors.
So, there you have it. Mastering your materials, making safety your top priority, and becoming fluent in the language of blueprints. That is your blueprint for success on this exam. Now, this has just been a quick overview. If you're serious about this and want a resource that covers everything we talked about and a whole lot more, there's an excellent guide called the Pipefitter Journeyman Exam Prep, complete study guide with practice questions and answers to pass the pipefitter licensing exam on your first try. It's written by Mike L. Porter, and you can get it on Amazon right now. It's filled with practice questions to get you ready. And hey, if you'd rather listen while you drive or work, it's also coming soon to audible.com, narrated by Tom Brooks. Remember, passing this exam starts with great preparation. Good luck.